Alright guys, so today our lesson was Wholey Division, okay? Meaning that we're going to divide whole numbers by fractions. And I told you guys this is what we were working up to as we were going over the multiplication of fractions. So we're going to talk about one thing before we get started. And our one vocabulary word for this lesson that we really have to know is reciprocal, alright? And I know we talked about it today and some of you remembered what it meant. When we talk about reciprocal, we're actually talking about the inverse of a fraction. Inverse meaning, you know, like the upside down. It's the opposite. So let's look at 1/2. All right, everybody's favorite fraction, 1/2. When we talk about the reciprocal, of 1/2, what we're meaning is we want our numerator to become our new denominator or divisor, and we want our divisor to become our new numerator, okay? Or our new dividend, okay? That's what we're talking about when we say reciprocal. So think about this fraction, 1/2. What is the reciprocal of 1/2? The reciprocal of 1/2 is 2/1. I simply took my denominator, made it my numerator, and my numerator, I made it my denominator. Now, from multiplying fractions, we know plus the multiplicative identity of 1, we know that 2/1 is actually 2. Right? Everybody with me on that? Okay. So that's when we say reciprocal, that's what we're talking about. Now, you may be saying, Mr. Hearn, why are we talking about reciprocals? Okay? Well, think about fractions. Everybody's scared of fractions, right? Remember, anybody go home and say to your mom and dad, fractions, and they're like, right? With fractions, what we're talking about, what is the easiest operation? What is the easiest operation with fractions? Remember, with addition and subtraction, we have to what? We have to find that common denominator, right? And you got to find the common denominator, then you can add and subtract that way. But if you can't find that's involved. It's a pretty complex situation. Now, what's the easiest? The easiest is multiplication, right? Right? All I got to do is numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Right? That's easy. Well, for division, let me start by saying we'll never divide fractions. Okay? Because to divide fractions, this is how you do it. All right? You must multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. Now, one of the first things that we went over in this class was how to read a mathematical sentence. And I still have it on the board to this day. Right? I know they're kind of getting close to each other. Let's bring this down. Dividend divided by divisor. Everybody remembers that, right? It's one of the first things we learned in here. So let's think about this concept. I must multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So let's look at a whole number divided by a fraction. Okay? So let's say I have 2 divided by, we'll use the same one, 1/2. Okay? Now, let's think about what we're doing. So if I have 2, right? Let's say I have 2 boxes. Okay, because everybody loves boxes. I've got 2 boxes. Divide is just a fancy way of saying what? Cut, right? So if I cut 2 boxes in half, how many boxes do I have now? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So somehow this division problem has to give me an answer of 4. Now, it's division. So, let's go back. How do I do division of fractions? I must multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. Okay, so I know I'm going to multiply, so let's bring that down here. So I know I'm going to multiply, right? I'll never divide. I'll always multiply. So, knowing what we know about multiplying fractions, do I have any issues here? This 2 is going to be an issue, is it not? This 2 needs to become what? What are we going to do to it? Yes, we're going to put it as 2 over 1. Right? Because that's what we learned. It's right here. Fraction by a whole number, we must convert the whole number. The whole number has to go over 1. We must make it a fraction. So we have 2 over 1. Now, what was that rule? We must multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. Which one of these is the divisor? Alright? Which one's the divisor? 2 or 1/2. Look up there. Dividend divided by divisor. That means that 1/2, the 1/2 is my divisor. So I must multiply by the reciprocal of my divisor. Alright? So then, what do? So I've got 1 divided by 2, alright, or 1/2. So now I've got to flip the 1/2. So when I bring down, remember, coming up, going down. Alright? So that gives me it gives me 2 over 1. Now, I said this today, we'll always come back. We'll always come back here, guys. We'll always come back here to fraction times fraction. Alright, so do I have fraction times fraction? Has everybody been converted? Is everything good? Yes, it has. So now I simply need to multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 over 1 equals 4. And when we cut 2 in half, we got 4. Okay? So guys, that is dividing fraction by whole numbers. Alright? That is how we divide whole numbers by fractions. Alright? That is the whole premise of this. So think about the other stuff that we did last week. Alright, we're going to be getting into mixed numbers. We're going to be getting into fractions. So think about when we divide. The rules applies to everything. When we divide, we must multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. Alright, I think everybody had a good job with this today. Alright, remember tomorrow we're going to go over your quizzes. And good luck on the homework tonight. Make sure you watch the tutorial.